top stories of the day. Understand the issues that matter. This is Manila Bulletin News on Web. Your quick rundown of top news in the country and around the world. Manila Bulletin, celebrating 120 years of timely stories and timeless truths. Be fully informed. Hi, I'm Barbie Atienza. This is MB Now, and here are your news on web. The country could secure coronavirus vaccines by March 2021 once the government grants approval of such life-saving drugs for emergency use. According to Food and Drug Authority Director General Eric Domingo, the vaccines developed by Pfizer, Moderna, Sinovac, Sinopharm, and AstraZeneca could apply for emergency use authorization in the Philippines once they secure the equivalent EUA from concerned government and health authorities abroad. The issuance of EUA will hasten the processing period for approving the coronavirus vaccine to 21 to 28 days from 6 months, according to Domingo. The health official made the remarks after citing that the United States Food and Drug Administration may authorize the emergency use of coronavirus vaccines developed by Pfizer and Moderna within 1 to 2 weeks. The United Kingdom became the first Western nation to grant emergency approval to the vaccine from Pfizer-Biontech and will reportedly roll out the first batch of doses next week. President Duterte earlier granted authority to the FDA Director General to issue EUA for coronavirus vaccines and treatments. The latest move aims to accelerate the availability and use of such vaccines in the absence of available alternatives. The Department of Interior and Local Government Secretary Eduardo ANEW commended the Metro Manila mayors on Thursday for banning minors to leave their homes and visit malls during the holiday season in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic. Initially, the Metro Manila mayors were tinkering with the idea of relaxing the ban for minors outside residences that would eventually allow them to enter shopping malls. Later, they decided to consult health experts, particularly the Philippine Pediatric Society, or PPS, on their stand of allowing minors outside their residence. Eventually, the PPS declared that it is very dangerous to allow minors to go out of their homes, as this may trigger the spike of COVID-19 and waste the government's 9-month efforts to prevent the transmission. The DILG chief maintained that the IATF continues to monitor the COVID-19 situation in every place in the country to allow them to provide intelligent inputs in case certain places request for less stringent quarantine protocols in a bid to boost their economy. But being a contagious area, ANEW said Metro Manila should have uniformed mall restrictions. A memorandum of agreement was recently inked by Go Negosyo, Project ARC, PCR Initiative, and the Baguio City government for pooled testing of market vendors, public transport drivers, and other vulnerable sectors in the city. According to Iloilo 1st District Representative and ARC PCR Private Sector Chief Implementer Janet Garin, Project ARC, the private sector-led initiative, aims to make massive testing possible through the use of antibody rapid test kits. It is headed by Presidential Advisor for Entrepreneurship and Go Negosyo founder Joey Concepcion. Garin said she signed the agreement with Baguio City Mayor Benjamin Magalong, who serves as the country's contact tracing czar, and Josephine Romero of the Philippine Center for Entrepreneurship, or Go Negosyo. She said the signing of the MOA is aimed at helping Baguio City, the people's favorite tourist destination in the north, to become COVID-free through affordable pooled reverse transcription polymerase chain reaction testing. Public market vendors, drivers, teachers, and other vulnerable sectors in Baguio City will be prioritized in the pooled RT-PCR testing. The signing of MOA was held at the City Mayor's office in Baguio City last December 1. On the same day, the City of Baguio and the Baguio General Hospital and Medical Center signed a MOA for the conduct of pooled RT-PCR testing. President Duterte has invited a new Russian President, Vladimir Putin, to visit the Philippines in an effort to forge a more robust and deeper cooperation between the two countries. The president said the Philippines considers Russia as a good friend and partner, as he urged Putin to visit Manila as soon as circumstances would allow. Duterte made the remarks when he met a new Russian ambassador to the Philippines, Marat Pavlov, via video conference in Malacanang Wednesday. The Russian envoy was among the 7 ambassadors who presented their credentials to the president through a virtual ceremony at the palace. Duterte gave his remarks from nearby Malago Clubhouse, while the new ambassadors were welcomed by Foreign Affairs Secretary Teodoro Locsin Jr. at the palace. The new Russian ambassador, meantime, expressed commitment to help strengthen the bilateral ties between the two countries during his tour of duty. In the same ceremony, the president welcomed the other new 4 ambassadors deployed to the Philippines and looked forward to strengthening their relations with their respective nations. Among those who presented the credentials to the president were the ambassadors from India, Chile, Hungary, Pakistan, Finland, and Egypt. In Metro News, Metro mayors vote to prohibit minors from going outside. And MMDA to study re-implementation of coding scheme and truck ban. More from this report.
Metro Manila Mayor unanimously voted on Wednesday night to prohibit minors from going outside, including going to malls, as the threat of COVID-19 still remains. MMDA General Manager Jose Arturo Garcia said that all of the 17 mayors in the National Capital Region voted to disallow children aged 17 years old and below to leave their residence. Garcia said the decision was made after the Philippine Pediatric Society Incorporated recommended to prohibit minors from going out and in entering shopping malls this holiday season because it's still dangerous. The MMDA official noted minors are only allowed to leave their homes for essential purposes such as doctor's appointment. The mayors failed to come up with a decision during the meeting on the Tuesday night on the matter of allowing minors to go outside. Garcia said the local chief executives choose to wait for the recommendations of health experts and come up with a solution based on facts presented to them. The Metropolitan Manila Development Authority said it would study whether to reimpose the number coding scheme and the truck ban along major thoroughfares in the metropolis. MMDA General Manager Jose Arturo Garcia said on Thursday, following the call of Valenzuela City Mayor Rex Gatchalian to re-implement the coding schemes and the truck ban in the city to reduce the number of vehicles on roads this holiday season. In a teleradyo interview on Thursday, Gatchalian bared that he has asked MMDA to impose the number coding scheme and the truck ban in Venezuela this Christmas season. The mayor has also attributed the heavy traffic experienced by motorists in the city to the mandatory implementation of RFID in the North Luzon Expressway. During the early days of the pandemic, the MMDA has indefinitely suspended the number coding scheme to ensure unrestricted movement of essential workers and goods.
And here are the top news in other parts of the country. BFAR issues red tide warning in 14 eastern Visayas bays. And Motorist yields 4 million peso illegal drugs at border checkpoint. More from this report.
The Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources in Region 8 has warned against red tide in at least 14 bays in eastern Visayas. Based on the laboratory examination conducted by the BFAR Region 8 Regional Marine Biotoxin Laboratory, the public is still advised to refrain from gathering, selling, and eating all types of shellfishes and alamang or hipon from these areas. Eating red tide-infested shellfish may cause paralytic shellfish poisoning and also can cause severe and life-threatening neurological effects to people. The Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources in Region 8 said red tide is usually a natural phenomenon that can happen in a specific place with no warnings. Task Force Davao operatives seized some 4.8 million worth of illegal drugs from a 19-year-old man at a border checkpoint in Barangay Sirawan, Toril District on Wednesday. The suspect was identified as Earl Cesar P. Camiso, who was on board a private vehicle traveling from Cotabato City to Davao de Oro at around 4 p.m. on Wednesday. The suspect attempted to hurdle the checkpoint, which prompted the security personnel to conduct a thorough inspection. Authorities seized the 5 jumbo-sized and small heat-sealed sachets of suspected shabu with an estimated weight of 255 grams and worth 4,080,000 pesos. Camiso will be charged for violation of Republic Act 92165 or the Comprehensive Dangerous Drugs Act of 2002.
Now in world news, Japan residents to get free COVID-19 vaccine. UK approves Pfizer-Biontech vaccine for rollout from next week. And birding is socially distanced New York's hottest hobby. Let's watch this.
Japan will give free coronavirus vaccines to all of its residents as the nation battles record numbers of daily cases. The bill, which says the government will cover all vaccine costs for Japan's 126 million residents, was approved by the upper house of parliament, having cleared the powerful lower house. The country has secured COVID-19 vaccines for 60 million people from Pfizer and 25 million people from BioNTech firm Moderna. It has also confirmed it will receive 120 million doses of AstraZeneca's vaccine. Tokyo's governor has urged residents to avoid non-essential outings and ask businesses serving alcohol to shop early, although there is no enforcement mechanism for these recommendations. Britain on Wednesday became the first Western country to approve a COVID-19 vaccine for general use as it announced a rollout of Pfizer-Biontech's drug from next week. After months of rigorous clinical trials and thorough analysis of the data, the MHRA concluded that the vaccine has met its strict standards of safety, quality, and effectiveness according to an official statement. Pfizer and BioNTech added that they expected further regulatory decision from other countries in the coming days and weeks. The announcement came as England exited a month-long coronavirus lockdown, but most of the country remained under restrictions as a new regional system for cutting infection rates kicked in. On a recent sunny morning in New York, a few dozen people gathered in Central Park's wooden ramble area with a common goal: zero in on an elusive owl. Autumn leaves crunched under their shoes as Birding Bob, a guide who has been organizing birdwatching tours in the park for more than 3 decades, with interest jumping since the coronavirus pandemic hit the city in March, leads them along winding paths. Suddenly, the avian enthusiasts raised their binoculars and cameras with powerful telephoto lens to view Barry, a barred owl peering through the pines, who arrived about a month ago to the delight of New Yorkers.
In entertainment, K-pop girl group Blackpink emerged as the most subscribed Korean YouTube channel with over 50 million, earning them the Custom Creator Award or Ruby Play Button. They are the first Korean channel to receive the Ruby Play Button Award from YouTube. Blackpink reached the 50 million mark in early October, and as of November 24, YouTube listed them as the second most subscribed artist in the world with 53.5 million subscribers, behind Justin Bieber, who had 58.9 million. Their channel has been viewed by a total of 14.34 billion so far since June 29, 2016. In sports, the NBA announced Wednesday that 48 players have tested positive for the coronavirus, a dramatic increase over the 0 positive tests reported during last season's quarantine bubble in Florida. The league said the positive tests are the result of 546 tests carried out between November 24 to 30 as the NBA gets set to begin preseason games in 9 days. The 0 positive tests were from the beginning of last season's quarantine bubble to the end of the season in mid-October. One team, the Golden State Warriors, has already delayed the beginning of their individual workouts by a day this week because of players testing positive. This was the initial round of tests for players as they returned to their teams ahead of the start of individual workouts on Tuesday. The NBA says it will be testing all of its players daily throughout the season. The infection rate number is also higher than the 46 players that tested positive for COVID-19 in the weeks ahead of the start of the pandemic disrupted season. The new results show the league has a positivity rate of 8.8%, which is high. Under the league's tough new COVID-19 protocols, a player who tests positive has to refrain from workouts for at least 10 days and more if he is showing symptoms. The NBA's first preseason games are on December 11, with the regular season scheduled to begin less than 2 weeks later. And those are the news on Web today, December 3, 2020. It's 22 days before Christmas. For more news and details, get your copy of Manila Bulletin newspaper tomorrow or log on to www.mb.com.ph, or you may also subscribe to our newsletter through the link on this video's caption to have the day's latest news delivered to your inbox. I am Barbie Atienza from Manila Bulletin, celebrating 120 years of timely stories and timeless truths. Join us again tomorrow. This has been MB Now. Be fully informed.